paranormal. It surrounds us. It's everywhere. Tonight, you will hear from the people who live and work within these highly active locations, all in the efforts to discover America's most haunted. With your host, ghost hunter and author, Dan Terry.
Good evening, boys and ghouls. I am Dan Terry, your ghost host with the most haunted. And where do you think I'm taking you tonight? Well, first off, let me get the important stuff down. For Race, my producer, I am wearing the shirt that has, there we go, Bigfoot, this side, Bigfoot and Mothman. It's also got the Flatwoods Monster, all from West Virginia, and an alien, because he keeps track of what shirts I wear. I don't know. All right, where are we going today is back to the Midwest and to Iowa. We're going to be talking to Allie, and she's the director of the Transcendent Paranormal Society. They've got some pretty cool evidence you're going to want to stay and see, and we're going to be talking about a ghost conference in April that you may not want to miss. So let's just bring Allie up and chat with her. There we are.
Hello.
Allie, how's things going today?
It's good. Yeah.
Good weather for you?
It's actually really nice today. A couple weeks ago, we had the highest recorded amount of snow in a week in Iowa.
Oh, wow.
We had 26 inches in a week. So anything but that, I mean, I'm happy. So
is the snow still there?
It is. Yeah, it's been raining the past couple days, so it's slowly going away. But
well, I'm a lifelong Missouri boy. Now I'm down
nice.
Here in North Carolina. And we get a beautiful, incredible snow about twice a year. And it is stunningly beautiful here in the mountains until 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And by 1 p.m., it's mud. The snow
yeah.
does not last here like it did back home.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like the seasons and I like winter, but I like it for like 2 days. And then, then I'm kind of over it.
Well, you may consider the South. It's a lot different here. Although, I don't know if you saw it last week, the fountain in Louisiana down around New Orleans was frozen over with the ice coming out of it.
Really?
It froze that fast. Yeah, it got down to single digits there, which is very unusual.
That's pretty intense for, the South. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad I wasn't there then.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about Transcendent Paranormal Society. And I'm going to tell you again, I'll probably at some point call it transcendental just because I've been saying that word for my whole life.
That's okay. Yeah, we get it all. We got all kinds of we get Transcend Paranormal Society and also, so yeah.
I'll bet.
Yeah. So our group started in 2018 officially. We actually had kind of a team before that. We were originally part of a group out of the Twin Cities, actually.
Okay.
The director from that group had this idea that he wanted to bring 6 strangers together in a city that didn't have a strong paranormal team presence, and that he would train them, and that he was going to film the whole thing, kind of try to get it picked up for TV. But at the end, we would have a fully functioning team and all that. So I got in on it at that kind of stage, and we did train for a year with them, and did some awesome investigations. And then we decided that, it was kind of difficult being a part, kind of a branch of a larger team that was so far away. And we really wanted to be local to our area. So we kind of broke off, and that's when Transcendent Paranormal Society first kind of became a thing. And we have 6 members, and then we also bring in some guest investigators if we have a bigger place, but we kind of like to keep it small and sort of serve the local area, which most of us are out of eastern Iowa. We're kind of spread around southwestern Illinois, eastern Iowa now, but for the most part, kind of our base is in Dubuque. So a town right on the Mississippi River. So pretty cool historical town.
Let's see. I was stationed in Omaha, Nebraska in the service, and right across the river was another city, and it was an Iowa city. Council Bluffs, maybe?
Yep.
No?
Yep.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
All right. So I know the other side.
Yeah, the West Coast. Yeah.
All right. So once you got the team started, you guys have gotten some really good evidence. How'd you find this kind of thing? Is the area that haunted?
Dubuque is kind of interesting because it's a very old town. It's a lead mining town. So there's a lot of really cool historical buildings. But it's also a town that like everyone knows places are haunted, but no one really wants to talk about it.
Really?
So I mean, there's some places that are like, oh yeah, everyone knows it's haunted and they're cool with investigations and they're like really open to the idea of the paranormal. But then I mean, I think like every team, we do come up against some people who are like not into it. We have a very like religious community in Dubuque, so I think that might be a little of it. But I'd say like it's being a part of the team and in our town and kind of in our area. Like it's really grown the interest in the paranormal in our area, and you don't really know how interested people are in it until you start you start doing it and you start talking to people, and then you're like, oh, everybody has had some kind of experience they can't explain. So we most of what we do some like some big locations and but we really try to focus on like houses and businesses and stuff and helping people who have stuff going on. So.
Okay. Well, I know the Midwest was settled mostly by Germanic types,
Irish, yep,
who do not talk about their things. There's a little town in Missouri I did. It's called Herman, and it was a very German buildings designed back in the 1800s. It's still standing and used right along the street like a German, just very German. They would not talk to me at all. They would not speak to an outsider about anything like that until one restaurant invited me in. Boy, it was crazy haunted. After that, I ended up with 2 books coming out of that city alone because once that dam broke, like you said, they all had a story to tell.
Right.
And were welcoming me right on in. So I think just keep pounding away. You're going to get it.
Yep. Yeah. It's interesting. Like, and you can go right across the river. So we're kind of right where Iowa and Illinois and Wisconsin meet. We can get pretty much anywhere. There's a bridge everywhere. And you go right across the river, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little later, to Galena, which is probably 20 minutes from where we are. And they just totally embrace the paranormal. There's like multiple ghost tours that go through the town. And it's another like a small kind of lead mining community. That's its historical origin, but totally different perception of all of it. So it's interesting how there's little pockets of that everywhere.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. And do you have much problem in Iowa? You mentioned some, but is it a big deal, or do these folks stand in line for you?
It's kind of on and off. I think every team kind of goes through where they won't get a call, at least like for like a house, or a private location where they won't get a call for, could be 3 or 4 months. And then all of a sudden it seems like we get 4 or 5 people who are having issues at the same time. We're like, okay, well now we need to like sort through who's having the worst problems so we can get to them first. But it's surprised me how many people have welcomed us into their, their homes and their businesses. It's always a privilege to be able to help people because it's not easy to let strangers just like wander around your house at night while you're not there. Right. And so, it's, I think there's a lot of teams in our area though, too, like just in Iowa, in Eastern Iowa, there's a lot of teams. So we try to like be respectful of other people. Like if we know that we get a case and someone's closer than we are, we'll refer it because, they're going to be close and they can come back and do follow-ups if they need to. So we all try to play really nice.
That's good. My part of Missouri was cutthroat. Boy, no teams worked very well together. They fought each other terribly. That's why I never had a team. They just, it was a constant fight for, this is my city, this is my haunted building, my ghost. I've noticed that in Kansas really bad. West Virginia works together like you're describing really well. I don't know if it's the people or what. I'm sure somebody by now has figured out we're not going to get rich off of this.
Yeah. It is weird. We've come up against some of that too, where people get really territorial and they think a location is their location. And And that's understandable, if you were the first team to get into a building and you've gotten some good evidence out of it and you've built like a good rapport with the spirits, you do get kind of protective of those places and you don't want anyone to go in and mess it up. So I think that's reasonable. But at the end of the day, like most of us are in it for the same reasons, for the same things. And I think more investigations in a place is good. And it gets us more evidence. It helps us put pieces together. So, and locations, different teams have different experiences at different locations. We might go into some place and get nothing. The spirits just don't connect with us for whatever reason. And a different team goes in the next day, and for whatever reason, the spirits want to talk to them. So
that's true too. But again, when you're talking being possessive, is if it was a human man possessive over his girlfriend who left him, we would call that a crime.
Yeah. Yep.
But if it's a ghost, a haunted spot, well, we can understand that. No, not really. If the owners of the place are willing to let you in, good luck. That's the way I've always thought of it. If you can, just let me know what you get so I can work off of that if I go back or whatever. So, I don't know. That's my own theory on that. So you brought some really cool evidence that we're going to have to take a quick look at. And a big one here is the Grand Opera House. What was going on in the Grand Opera House?
Yeah, so the Grand Opera House is one of those like buildings in Dubuque where if you would ask anybody on the street, like, hey, what's the most haunted building in Dubuque? They'd be like, oh yeah, the Grand Opera House. Like it'd be like between a couple places, but the Grand Opera House, most people know that there's activity there. And it dates back to probably 100 years. There was, multiple incidents of like people who were like cleaning ladies who would be in the opera house cleaning after everything closed, and they would run out of there screaming, calling the police because someone was in the building when they weren't supposed to be. The police would go in, there's nobody in the building. So yeah, just tons and tons of different experiences people have had over the years. And we've been there probably 7 or 8 times. And it's always something different. This particular piece of evidence, this is when we were training with the team out of the Twin Cities. This was our first investigation together. This was our first time using any of the equipment that he had. And so it's a thermal image camera, and we were at the top floor of the Grand Opera House. It's kind of like an attic space, but they use it as a costume shop. So it's just stacked with costumes and different props and stuff. And one of our teammates was just working with the FLIR, wasn't really paying attention to it, just scanning around. And when we went to go do evidence review, found out that we caught something. So yeah, you'll want to keep an eye on kind of like the top left corner.
Top left corner, and it looks like somebody was ducking away from you.
Yeah, yep.
And what was there?
So it was basically a bunch of bins stacked up. Probably 5-6 feet tall. Like we tried to get back there to recreate this to see if like a person could literally get up there and do what we saw this figure doing, and we couldn't get there. You'll notice, if people are probably pretty familiar with how a thermal works, that, we show up hot, you'll see light bulbs on the ceiling that, since they were turned on originally, they're still hot. And this thing is pretty much the same temperature, a little bit colder than the rest of the room. So, it's a cool one.
The cold of the grave, huh?
So right.
There could not have been anyone sliding back there because it was a row of bins.
Right. And it was like, it's a very narrow aisle. So like when you're in there with a group of 3 people, you're not really moving. Like you stand and yet you're all really close together, and you do your EVP session or whatever you're going to do. And that's pretty much as far as you can go in that location. So.
All right, let's check it out.
Yeah.
So what we saw was it turned to blue, and then somebody, or a head, neck, and possibly shoulder, turned away from you and walked into the wall. Would that be a pretty good guess?
Kind of, yeah. The bins are kind of, it's hard when you just get a little snapshot of it, but there's the bins and they're up high, And actually the thing is small. Like it's not human sized even. It's like perspective wise, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's a small thing.
Okay.
And it just kind of like ducks back down behind the bin. So we don't know where it went, but yeah, it's, I guess, a kind of caveat cool thing that happened afterwards.
Yeah.
So we just thought it was a cool piece of evidence. Like we don't get a lot of stuff on the thermal, especially like a figure. Like you might get a heat signature that you can't really explain, but we were at Minnesota Paracon. There used to be a big paranormal convention up in northern Minnesota, where, you know, all of the big names in the paranormal were. And we were got a chance to talk to Grant Wilson, and we're like, hey, you know, like, could you just look at this thing? Like, because we happened to have, you know, we had a table, so we had all our evidence set up.
Sure.
Just get your opinion on it. And he's like, he looked at it. He's like, can you guys send that to me? And so we did. And he's like, I ran it through, you know, he got back to us later, and I ran it through software. I mean, it's legit. You guys didn't fake it. And he actually, one of his first experiences that he talked about at that conference was with an elemental that he saw where he grew up as a child. And he said that, oh, that's kind of like, because of the size of it and the shape and everything, that might be what you're dealing with. And I think, so now we refer to it as that the Grand has a fairy up in the costume shop, which everybody loves.
Would you explain what what a elemental is for the folks?
Yeah. So elementals are kind of like more nature spirits, right? So like everyone thinks of, like, you know, fairies and, you know, gnomes or whatever, but it's a spirit that's more connected to nature in some way. So they can be like a little tricky, like a little tricksy, especially if you're in their territory. We had one house that we did that had some elemental spirits. It was a kind of like built on what used to be Native American, and there were some mounds up further on the bluff.
Oh, okay.
And so some of the activity that they were getting is it would just mess with things. Like it would like make noises in one part of the room, and then you go check that out, and then on the opposite side of the room, now you hear the knocking on the other. So it just kind of like wanted to run you around and just sort of be annoying because you were in their space. And so, yeah, just kind of nature spirits, I guess they fall into that category.
So these are things then that has never walked the earth as humans.
Right. Yep.
They're not angelic and they're not demonic. So they are something completely different. And this is where we get leprechauns, fairies, like you said, gnomes, elves, trolls, I guess. Things from nature, as you said. Okay, let's watch that one again then. All right, so it gets bright yellow, then it turns back to blue or green.
Kind of stays the same shade. Yeah, actually. That thing's temperature stays pretty much the same the whole time.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the room got really yellow.
Oh, yeah. So you'll see, actually, it's the top of someone's head, one of our old director's head. Yep. So it's kind of like bright red, and it kind of pans over his head up into the corner.
Okay. And then the thing is kind of equal to him, and it just turns like it's walking away. All right, let's play it. That's a light bulb. Got that one. There it turns real yellow. Now, right there. And he had the target, he had the screen, the crosshairs right on it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Was there any legends connected to this opera house?
Not having to do with that really. Like I said, it was a lot of like people seeing figures in the audience or shadows in the audience when there's no one supposed to be there. A lot of like voices and stuff that people would hear. I actually did shows there when I was younger, in high school, and me and my friend were doing like taking care of some props in the back of the opera house, and all of a sudden we just got hit with like cigar smoke, like straight in the face, like super, super strong. We had to like leave the room because it was so like overwhelming. And so yeah, that happened to us while we were there. There was a girl, one of the main cast, one was down in the dressing rooms by herself. Everybody else was on the stage getting notes from her director, and she comes screaming up the stairs because she said someone just like yelled right right behind her, and so she was out of there. So I mean, even when I was younger, we were having experiences at that place. So it's just there's been so much, but nothing having to do with any type of fairy stuff. So that was kind of cool.
Unless it's you said some of them are tricksters. Do they have problems with lights being undone, energy?
Yeah, I think they do have problems with some of the lights. Like stuff going on when it's not supposed to, and yeah.
And what do they call those things that used to supposedly tear up the airplanes? Was it not trolls, not goblins, but there was some other word for it. World War II. They used to tear up electronics on you, make it stop working. I'll think of the name in a minute. Yeah. All right, well, let's try Tanner's thing. The Granger house, was it?
Yes.
All right. Kind of fill us in on what we're going to hear here.
Yeah. So this is at the Granger house. It's in Marion, Iowa. Mm-hmm. It's an old Victorian home built by the Granger family. They had it in their family for, I think, over 100 years, passed down from father to son. And then actually they had another kid that built like right behind them. So the whole kind of property was the Granger's property, and ended up getting sold out of the family. But one of the family members, extended family members, happened to have all of their original furniture from the house, kept all of it in storage. And so when I don't know if it's a city or if it's a nonprofit that runs it now, but when they were going to open it back up as a museum, because it's like a perfectly preserved house, they actually donated all of that furniture back. So everything in the house, furniture-wise, a lot of it still was the original family's furniture. So yeah, this is in the Granger house, and our first time there as a team. We've been there multiple times, but we're upstairs. There's the boys' room, the girls' room, and then the parents' room. And we were in the boys' room. We were doing just a regular, EVP session, had some equipment out, and we decided that we were going to split up and each take a room and just kind of see what we got. And Tanner decided he was going to go into Earl's room, and Earl is the father of the Granger family. And we hear his name. Tanner's name get called out.
Let's see what we got.
Okay, who wants what room? Who's gonna go hang out with Earl?
I'm going to master.
Who wants the little girl?
What? Someone say my name?
No.
There was definitely a male voice. I heard that too. I thought that was Brandon.
I thought it was Brandon too.
I didn't say anything.
I didn't say anything?
No one whispered?
That was right behind you, Ted.
Yeah.
It was right next to me.
Ow.
I thought it was...
Let me out.
Well, that should get caught on this recording for sure.
Never mind, I'm not going in there.
That was very plainly a voice that said Tanner.
Yeah.
And it was none of your people.
No, we had one other guy there, and he didn't say it. He was right in front of, or right behind Tanner at the time. He didn't say it. And yeah, we all heard it, and we all knew exactly what it said right away. We pulled the recorders. We had like 2 recorders running. We pulled them right away, played it back. And we're like, yeah, that said Tanner. So yeah, that was really cool. I love disembodied voice evidence, that you don't always get it, but where it's so clear, like what you can tell exactly what it's saying at the time. But I love that kind of evidence.
And I've only had that happen a couple of times in all the years I've done this, but that is something you all heard right then and there.
Yeah. You can tell Tanner stops and like turns around. He's like, what? Like, no one said your name, Tanner. So
this is not just an EVP. It was an intelligent statement.
Yeah, exactly.
That happened when y'all made the decision to go into Earl's room.
Yeah. Yep.
And was Earl a particularly decent guy, a mean guy? What do you know about him?
He was kind of interesting. There was some scandal surrounding Earl back in the day. So they had a pretty tragic family. They lost, I think they had, I can't remember exactly how many children, maybe like 6. And I think by the end they had 1 kid pretty much left. And they lost like multiple kids within, a few years from sickness and stuff like that. So one of the Dora, Earl's wife, her sister ended up moving into the house because she kind of fell into like this pretty decent depression after all of that. Didn't want to leave her room, and so her sister ended up moving into the house and helping out with the remaining kid and helping out with the household stuff. And supposedly Earl and the sister had a bit of a thing while she was living there, and she ended up having a baby that was questionable birth. So yeah, there's a little bit of scandal in Marion, Iowa.
And during those times, that would have been a scandal. She would have been basically shunned by the community.
Yeah. So that was an interesting piece of history, but there's people have gotten a lot of evidence that the family's there, and especially there was a younger daughter. They have she was like a musician, and they have a piano in the music room that used to be hers, and they hear that piano playing all the time when
Okay, let's play it one more time here.
Sure.
Now, right after he says, "I'll take Earl's room," and I think one of the others said something about, yes, you're going to go see Earl or whatever.
Yep.
And then the voice says the name.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, who wants what room? Who's gonna go hang out with Earl?
Other than the master.
Who wants the little girl?
What? Someone say my name?
No.
There was definitely a male voice. I heard that too. I thought that was
someone whisper?
Brandon. I thought it was Brandon too.
I didn't say anything.
I didn't say anything.
No one whispered?
That was right behind you, Tim.
Yeah.
It was right next to me.
Ow.
I thought it was.
Let me out.
Well, that should get caught on this recording for sure.
Never mind, I'm not going in there.
That was very plain.
Yeah, that's
That was-
one of my favorite.
Yeah, no
evidence,
doubt.
Mhm.
Okay, well, Allie, we're going to step away for just a minute, but don't go anywhere. I'll be right back after a little quick break because you've got several other EVPs we need to hear, okay?
Sounds good.
Talk to you in a minute. Iowa. That's one. We had one guy from Iowa I had on the show a few weeks ago about that old stagecoach stop. He wrote like 2 books on it. But I didn't get much haunted stuff from legends from Iowa when I was in Nebraska and that area. So this is all something pretty new for me. And apparently the place is quite haunted. And well, I'm going to let you decide, but we're going to switch over real quick and talk something a little different. In just a second. There we go. All right, friends, there's so much I could talk about just on that section. And, I'll chat with you about becoming a member. As you can see, we got a lot of shows coming out. Well, they're out. But we got a lot of shows for you. It's all free to join. I'll talk more about that at the end of the show. But I do want to bring up specifically My friend Michelle, I'm probably going to mess this last name up, Roos. I met her at the X-Con last year in October, and she does exorcisms, demonology. She's a ghost hunter, works with Riverside, Iowa Paranormal Group, and she and her friends, she had a friend there with her, and I know her daughter's into this, had a lot of really cool stories. I just found out last night she's joining up with her own show here. As you can see, Michelle will be on Tuesday nights, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And again, this is one you ain't going to want to miss because she has got some amazing evidence that she showed us right there at the X-Con. She'll be probably at the X-Con this year. And again, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But I want to get back because we got more to talk about with Allie from Transcendent Paranormal. Yeah, Transcendent Paranormal Society out of Iowa. All right. So the next one we've got here, it says Grand Opera House EVP.
Yeah, so this same location as the thermal.
Okay.
This is actually in the basement. We were doing, it's a spot where we've done quite a few public events because it's big enough you can split people up and not have too much contamination. And people really, I mean, those events sell out every time. People love the Grand. So we were with a public group, and one of the groups was down in the basement area. It's kind of a spot that's just a another storage spot where they can put props away when they're not using them. And they had the spirit box running, weren't getting anything. I mean, not even, no voices coming through, just straight static. And then another disembodied voice pops up that they heard at the time. So
your spirit box, is that the radio that's been changed over type of thing?
Yeah.
Or is that, EVPs from the phone apps or?
Yeah. This was just a straight spirit box, the SB7, I think. That they were using.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've had such good luck with those. It's incredible. Okay, so let's see what we got, and then we'll talk more about it.
I'm an old lady like you. Yeah.
Whoa, what was that?
It was a hot.
No. Somebody, a male voice just talked. It came from over here.
From over here. I'm an old lady like you. Yeah.
Whoa.
What I hear is more, I don't think it's a male I'm hearing, but it's saying, did you see that? Is that what you're getting?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what we thought it was saying too. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what do you get out of it? What's the potential for who this is? Do you have any idea?
The Grand's hard. Like, we've never really gotten any solid names out of at the Grand, but what we thought was kind of funny was like it almost seemed like they were mocking kind of us because like how many times on an investigation does an investigator go, oh, did you see that, did you hear that, kind of. So we thought that was kind of like that could be something that it was doing, but we don't know for sure. The Grand's kind of a tricky spot because there isn't, like, while there's stuff that's happened, there's not a lot of like history to back up exactly who's there and why. And I think that seems to be the case in like a lot of theaters that we've investigated, that it's a lot of residual stuff, right? So not necessarily intelligent, but just stuff that happens when the time is right. There's so much energy in those buildings, from the audience, from the performers. So it makes sense to us that kind of sticks. But I don't know who that voice is. Wish we did.
And why are theaters haunted? I've been in several myself. Why are theaters so haunted?
I know. It's crazy. I don't think I've ever been to a theater where we haven't had something substantial happen. And I think it's just, I mean, like having been a weird theater kid, like you spend so much time when you're putting on a production, you spend so much time and energy, like putting on that show. And then you have this full audience that comes and like participates in that kind of emotionally and physically sometimes. So I think it's just a lot of energy that gets put out in those places. And I think it just sticks. And so, when there's people there kind of giving that energy back in an investigation, I think some of that just pops back up. So yeah, I wish I knew exactly why, but that's kind of the theory that we've gone with.
Does some of the ghosts there have names that they were given by the people? I know some of the ones I've been in have named the ghosts.
Yeah. I don't think any of the Grand have like a certain, like Greg the guy that used to work at the Spotlight or something that died and he still sticks around. It's kind of interesting. Like some of the staff there is like pretty excited about, like the activity that they have. But for the most part, there's some people there that are just like, we just ignore it. Like, unless they're going to work and they're going to help us tear down sets and stuff, like we just ignore them. So we hear something, we just leave the room and we come back later. So yeah, I don't think any specific names for that.
All right, let's play that one more time.
I'm an old lady like you. Yeah.
Whoa, what was that?
There was a hot.
No. Somebody, a male voice just talked. It came from over here.
Came from over here. I'm an old lady like you. Yeah.
Whoa.
He does kind of have a mocking tone to his voice, doesn't he?
Yeah.
All right, so this one here I thought was just incredible. This is the one that was taking place inside a train station. Is that right?
So this is Vinton Train Depot, one of the most well-preserved passenger stations in the state of Iowa that's still open. The Vinton County Historical Society runs that location, and then right across the street, they actually have a house, the Horridge House, also haunted. And so they run both of those locations, and you can investigate them. And this was pretty early on, really before they started letting teams in. We were one of the first teams, besides a local team, there to investigate these spots. But we came back to do a fundraiser investigation for them. And this was, again, a public event that we caught this piece of evidence at. And we did have the necrophonic app going. So you'll hear that in the background. But we were all standing there, and all of a sudden we just hear a train kind of whistle, and it almost sounds like it's like braking and stopping. And we're like, what was that? Because you're right next to the tracks. Yeah. So we're like, okay, well, we would see it if a train was out there. And so we ran outside. We're like looking up and down the tracks, nothing, no train. And they're like, okay, well, did it come out of the app? There's only supposed to be voices, that comes out of the app. And I have heard some pieces of sounds that'll come out of that too, that aren't voices, which is, I wish they didn't do that, because it just messes with you when you're trying to review evidence. But never heard that come out. And the voices are still coming out over it. So we're like, well, if it would come out of the app, probably the voices aren't gonna, you're not still gonna hear those snippets of the voices coming out of the app. So, and it sounded like it was outside. It didn't sound like it was in the train station with us. So, but
this is distinctly, and I live by the railroad, so I'm very familiar with it. That is the sound of a train braking.
Yes.
Absolutely. But there was absolutely no trains moving anywhere near you.
No train. We didn't see a train the entire night we were there. One didn't come through. So,
all right, let's try it out here.
Come back, Billy. Stop.
What was that?
That was odd.
Come back, Billy. Stop.
What was that?
That was odd.
You all heard that at the time also.
Yeah. Yep, we did.
What, was you close to a highway? Could that have been a tractor trailer with really messed up brakes or anything?
Well, the great thing about Vinton is it's such a small town, and there's not really any major roadways running by this thing. And it was so quiet outside. I mean, it's a very, very kind of sleepy little farm town. So yeah, nothing, no rumble strips or anything that we tried to think of all that, and
didn't sound like that either.
No, it sounded like a train.
It is a train braking. I'm certain of it, but
yeah,
the things you've captured that you heard at the time is stunning. I've never seen that before. Like I said, my whole time, twice, I've heard the EVP come over the air as the ghost said it. And this is really incredible. I'm going to play that one again just because I think that one is amazing.
Come back, Billy. Stop.
What was that?
That was odd.
Come back, Billy. Stop.
What was that?
That was odd.
Just a 2-second clip of a train hitting its brakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow.
That just stuns me. That one there is one of the most amazing ones I have ever heard.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing in the moment. It's always cool when you can like react to it in real time, and everybody. I mean, and there's 6 people in the room, and everybody hears it. It's not like I heard it and I'm trying to convince everybody around me that it happened. It's like, no, we all stopped, we all heard it. Okay, everyone just experienced that. All right, okay. So
it is just stunning. That's one of the best I've ever heard, because it is not a voice, it is not movement. It's not something, it is strictly a mechanical device that wasn't there.
Right.
Wow.
Ghost train.
Yeah, that's wild. All right, let's try this one and then you can explain it.
Do you know anybody who's in this room right now?
Where?
In this room where we're sitting.
Right here.
Anybody sitting on the benches and chairs?
Not you.
What about me? Do you know my name?
Tanner!
No way. No way. Brandon.
Tanner!
Now, this was not an EVP so much as it was a Estes experiment. So set it up for us again, because I feel bad for Tanner.
Yeah. So Tanner had a rough time those few investigations, but this was in the train depot as well. Same investigation. We decided to do the Estes method, which I think most people who follow the paranormal probably know what that is, but in case they don't, it's using the spirit box in a little bit of a different way. This is kind of our preferred method to use it now, just because it eliminates the bias of an investigator. So, when we just have it playing normally, or even those, the apps, anything that kind of produces those voices and those sounds, we just find that there's too much bias as investigators. It's like, if we ask for a name, like, oh, I really want to hear a name come out of that thing, chances are you might hear a name, even if it's not there. So this is one of the investigators, Brandon, and he's plugged in with some noise canceling headphones, a blindfold, and sitting in a separate room from where the rest of the group is. So he can't hear our questions. He has no way to know how to respond. His job is just anything he hears come out of the spirit box. He says it aloud, and we do the asking of the questions. So again, we were just kind of asking, do you know anybody in the room? We had, again, a bunch of the public with us, and they had been sort of telling us about experiences that they had. And, one of the ladies had thought that her family members that had passed away, one of them was still in her house. So we're like, okay, well, maybe, they tagged along. Let's see if they know anybody. And so he asked, do you know anybody? And Brandon says, I asked that, and Brandon says, not you. And I was like, okay, cool. And Tanner's like, do you know me? Or, and it's like, Tanner. And so this was actually, I think this investigation was maybe investigation right after he got called out at the Granger house. So we had 2 or 3 in a row where his name just kept coming up. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I feel bad for the guy. A lot of people have quit for less. All right, let's try it again one more time to hear it.
Do you know anybody who's in this room right now?
Where?
In this room where we're sitting.
Right here.
Anybody sitting on the benches and chairs?
Not you.
What about me? Do you know my name?
Tanner!
No way. No way. Brandon.
Tanner!
Okay, so when they said not you, that was something coming over the speaker, the ghost voice box.
Yep. That was our.
Okay.
Yep. That
And
was
who was you? Was that you talking there?
Yeah. When I asked, if they knew anybody, yeah, that was me.
And they said not you.
Not you. Which is usually what I get. My name never comes up. It's always everybody else's. So.
And then this guy could not hear what you were saying, had no clue.
Nope.
Okay. That was pretty wild. All right, let's try one more. And this is a private location. You want to set it up, or you want me to just play it and talk about it afterwards?
Yeah, we can play it and I'll talk about it.
All right.
Sure.
I played that over and over last night and cannot make out what she's saying. Do you have a clue?
Yeah. We did it. We slowed it down. We amplified it. I ran it through, and I had a bunch of people listen to it, and I can't tell what it said either. But this one I included because it's actually the most recent investigation we did, and this is a private location, and the owners. It was a building that was part of a school, an old school, and they turned it into a venue, and was having just a bunch of problems in it, and were concerned about having guests and stuff out because they didn't know if it was gonna harm anyone. But one of the things that they had was that they would hear children's voices, and that they thought some of the activity could be connected to the kids who went to the school. So when we played, and you'll hear the REM pod just went off all night long, and they have like a lot of that kind of like tricky, again, like a kid trying to play a prank. They've got these little votive candles, and they'll turn them all off, and they'll come back in the morning, and they'll all be on. So it's just like stuff that's just trying to kind of mess with you. So you're like, oh yeah, maybe it's kids just kind of trying to play some tricks. And so we played that piece of evidence for them, and they're like, oh yeah, that's a kid. And so that kind of just it made them feel good, because they're like, okay, yeah, we're not like crazy. Like there are maybe some kids still hanging around at this school. So.
And I have done several schools that are haunted. Why do you think schools do that?
Yeah, again, I think it might be. We always have asked that too, because there's another one in Iowa called Farrar Schoolhouse. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's been on like quite a few of like the shows and stuff. But a lot of the activity that we've experienced there again seems just residual. Because I always think like, okay, if I pass away, I'm never going back to like school. I mean, that's not where I'm going to spend my time haunting, is my old grade school. But I think, again, it's just like that. There's so much energy in schools, right? When they're active, there's so much movement, and there's so many emotions. And I think those schools just hold on to it. And from what we gathered at, Farrar especially, and actually at this location too, it really wasn't, the kid energy was residual. And then some of the intelligent stuff was actually staff members. So principals and teachers and stuff who had like poured so much of their heart and soul into that school. And, they found their jobs really, really important. And so they just kind of are drawn back to those places after they pass away. Job's not done.
The theory I had, and I did one called Prosperity School, which was a B&B. It's a private residence now near Joplin, Missouri. But there was a teacher there, and there were several kids. They were all intelligent hauntings. We got several of them on video, myself and others. And the thing is, there was no deaths connected to that school at all. It was only a school for about 40 years. And then the mines played out. That would have been, for many of these children, especially back then, the happiest time of their lives, because they had their friends. They got to play. They had their favorite teachers. We're talking little kids here. And after they passed on, even as adults, why wouldn't they want to go back to a time when they had no responsibilities, no depression, didn't have to go to work? All they had to do was play. And they were playing when I was there that time. So we contacted one teacher. We contacted a guy who worked there, like you said, staff who just felt they needed to be there, and a bunch of kids who were playing.
Yeah.
Cool. And again, most of these people passed away in their 40s, 50s, and on.
Not as kids,
But I think they went back. It just seemed like the most happy time of their lives.
Yeah.
All right, let's try that one again. Now, right at the beginning, it almost sounds like a school bell, but she said that was the REM pod.
REM pod, yep.
And then there's a little voice of a child.
Yes.
And we cannot make out what he says, darn it. Okay, let's play one more. God, I wish I could understand that, because they sound
maybe
happy.
maybe someone who's listening to it will be able to decode it and leave it for us. But
like I said, they sound happy.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, in the last few minutes, you all are going to be part of a conference. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so this is, I think, the third year that they've done it, the Haunted Galena Conference. So this is a conference that's in Illinois, in that town that I kind of mentioned, Galena's, it's a super historic town, and they take a lot of pride in their history. And so a lot of the buildings are, like architecturally, they're unchanged. And it's a town that really embraces the paranormal too. It's like every single building, you can walk down Main Street and you pop into a building, and the staff there have some sort of experience in their building. So it's in a kind of a valley surrounded by limestone, running water. So it's kind of like all of the elements that we look for as paranormal investigators to kind of create the perfect storm. And I think it's probably, I can't say with certainty, but I think it's one of the most paranormally active cities I've ever been to.
Okay.
And so there's, multiple companies that run ghost tours and stuff. And the Haunted Galena Tour Company is the company that puts on this conference. And it's an amazing conference. I've been to a bunch of, conferences and conventions and stuff. And
Sure.
And this one is just great because they keep it really small and intimate. Some of those, conferences, they get so big, you stand and you wait in line to talk to, the speakers or to buy a book or whatever. The speakers are around all weekend. They're staying in the same hotel as you. And so it's very, very intimate and cool. And it's, the whole thing's at the DeSoto House Hotel. And Galena is the home of Grant. So Grant's childhood home is there. Yep.
From Ghost Hunters.
Nope. President Grant. So.
Oh, okay. Duh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there's like a room, a suite named after him. He stayed there, and just a whole bunch of really cool things that have to do with that particular hotel that takes place in. There's a restaurant in the basement, and there's since the place has pretty much been around, they've had staff and guests that have seen a woman in black come down the stairs, walk across the restaurant, and disappear into a wall.
Okay.
And so back in the early 2000s, that basement flooded. The Galena River came up, the basement flooded, and they pretty much had to take out all the drywall from this basement and redo the whole thing. And they found that the spot that she had been disappearing into the wall was actually an old doorway, the original doorway. So they actually have it glassed off and a plaque that says, the story of the woman in black, and you can see where she walks into the wall. So it's like, the hotel is like just really embraced the fact that they have kind of that resident ghost. And then people see Civil War soldiers wandering the hallways, and it's such a cool spot. So the whole conference takes place in that hotel. All the speakers are there, the vendors are there, and then we run investigations. So you have the whole day of speakers, and then at night, we do investigations you can sign up for after hours. And so we investigate the DeSoto House Hotel, and then 2 other locations in Galena. One that was an old funeral home and is now a winery, Galena Cellars. And then we also investigate the Dowling House, which is the oldest house in Galena. So,
and can they find more information on your transcendentparanormal.com?
Yep. You can go to events there, and you can get your tickets, and it sells out every year. So they keep it pretty small. So if you're interested, definitely get it early.
Quick. All right. Well, Allie, thank you so much for coming on, and the evidence you brought was outstanding. So
awesome. Thank you so much.
Hope we get you back here sometime.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Start looking up some more evidence. If you can match the one with the train brakes,
yeah,
call me. We'll get you right on immediately.
Okay. Sounds great. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming on again, and take care.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, my friends. Time's about up, but I do want to remind you there is a way to join, become part of my show here, Most Haunted, and the X-Con. Come to the X-Con, Xnet. If you join, and you join by going to unxnetwork.com, and all you have to do is fill in some information. Basically, it's your email address. And just for that, you get special, first off, access to the blog. The blog comes out constantly. I had a story on it about the Phantom Barber of Pascagoula here last week. We're talking about UFOs. We're talking about ghosts. We're talking all this stuff here. And you get the magazine sent to you by email once a month. And these have some of the best authors, best writers, and investigators going. You've got ex-con. We discussed the haunted battleship of North Carolina on this one. We've got time anomalies. I just had one came out last week about vampires in America, part 1. Part 2 is coming out as well. So if you get the chance, you may want to sign up, get the free blog, get the free magazines. Also, the ex-con for 2024 is set for Springfield, Missouri in a haunted hotel. And we didn't know it was haunted. It's the same hotel as last October. And we found out it was haunted by most of the people sitting in there watching shadow people cross in front of us. So we're going to be doing a little bit of ghost hunting there, I believe. That is in the plans. It gives you plenty of time to set it up. It's October 11th to the 13th in Springfield, Missouri. And as we get closer, I'll tell you more about that. So I want to thank Allie of Transcendent Paranormal Society of Iowa for coming in. She is the director of it. She brought some cool evidence. And I want you guys to stay warm, stay dry, and stay spooked, okay? Good night.